Live from the 301, live from the pot. I want to welcome my audience to episode number 226 of Curry in the Pot. I'm your host, your guy, Mike Curry, and I'm back with another episode, man. It's been a minute since we've done one of these virtual pods. During 2020, I used to do a lot of these. I honestly didn't have much of a choice. But we're back, man. We're back. Probably going to bring back some IG lives or something soon too. But definitely doing virtual. Sound Man not with us today, but he'll be back with us next week, hopefully. But we're here, man. I'm here with my guy, my co-host, my little bro, my guy Bink. Bink, what's good, bro?
What's up, man? What's up, man? NFL playoffs start today. I'm excited.
Yes, sir, man. I'm ready to talk these games with you, break things down. I know you dropped the Super Bowl preview or prediction last week. I think after that Sunday night game, you might be recanting that a little bit, especially on the NFC side. But
Yeah.
that's neither here or there, man. Let's go ahead and get into these games because playoffs start, like you said today. We're going to literally drop this episode in a couple of hours so you guys can digest and get this into your system by 4:30 p.m. kickoff time. And that first game is the Chargers at the Texans. For my spread guys, for my betters, for the betting community, the Chargers are favored by 3 points. I'm gonna start with me just on the spread part, and then we could dive into the game and we could talk, schematics. But for the Chargers to be favored by 3 points, I think that's very telling because normally in the playoffs, you get 3 points for being at home. You look into a couple of other matchups, like the Buccaneers, for example. Buccaneers against Commanders. The Buccaneers are favored by 3 points. Those 3 points you get off the strength of being at home, having that home crowd, having that home field advantage, of what you worked so hard for all season long by winning your division. With that being said, the Chargers are favored by 3 points at the Texans. So that's interesting to me. It just shows that the Texans kind of backpedal into the playoffs by way of a bad division, bad coaching. We all know Doug Peterson was one of the coaches that got fired during Black Monday. We all know about the troubles that the Colts had this year, just with the inefficiency to put together complete games.
And Will Levis.
And Will Levis as well is going to go to the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis, they had Mason Rudolph in there a little bit as well. Just, I think the Texans, I think they are the most talented team, but I don't think that the other teams really push them as far as like being a real threat to win a division, if that makes sense.
It
So,
didn't at all.
yeah, exactly. So, with that being said, I like the Chargers here. Jim Harbaugh's not to say that D'Amico Ryan's a nonsense coach, but Jim Harbaugh, I know what I'm getting from him. I know his pedigree. I know what his pedigree has been in the NFL as head coach. D'Amico Ryan's, we saw that last year, but I think this whole team truthfully is having a hangover effect and also having a slump this year. We all know about the Texans injuries, the Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell at wide receiver. I think they're going to need Nico Collins, who is an excellent receiver. I think they're going to need him to be like a superhero. I think they're going to need a Jamar Chase type of effort if they are going to win this game. But when I look at the Chargers, they're able to do things that play to the Texans' weaknesses as far as stopping the run. And I think the Chargers should be able to run the football. That's what they do. That's what Jim Harbaugh likes to do. That's what Greg Roman likes to do. I think they're going to be able to get the ball to J.K. Dobbins early and often. And, Lad McConkey, he's been one of the best rookie receivers this year. Obviously, Brian Thomas Jr. Obviously, we hear a lot about Malik Neighbors, but Lad McConkey has been a great receiver this year. So, I like the Chargers here. Even Quentin Johnston has stepped up this year, but I like the Chargers. I expect them to win on the road. Very interesting that the Texans are the only home dog in this wild card weekend, but very, very interesting stuff. But I gotta go with the Chargers here.
I think it's interesting that you point out that the Texans are a home dog, especially for the fact that CJ Stroud and D'Amico Ryan's group won a playoff game last year at home. Not even one. They dominated the Browns last year,
Oh
45
yeah,
to 14. So I think that's another point when you say why are the Texans not favored. I think this game is actually going to be close. I mean, I know like almost everybody's picking the Chargers. I'm also picking the Chargers, but I do think it's going to be a little bit closer and a little bit more nail biting than people expect
yeah,
because I mean the Texans won 10 games for a reason. Let's not act like they're just this pushover team. Like I think the Chargers can really run on them and that's going to be the difference in the game. However, I did make a TikTok talking about CJ Stroud's sophomore slump, and I don't think it has much to do with him as much as I think it has to do with Bobby Slowick and the offensive coordinator and the way the plays are called.
yeah.
So I think that's what it has more to do with. But at the end of the day, the Chargers have been the better coach team this year. I think the Texans are the more talented team in this game, but the Chargers have been the better coach team this year. I do trust the Chargers defensive line with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack to continue getting pressure on Stroud and continue to force the ball out quick to the secondary guys and not Nico Collins. So I do think the Chargers win that way.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's going to be closer. Like, I don't think the Chargers are going to come in and wash this team. I don't think the Chargers, I mean, on talent, they're cool, but I don't think like they're like overwhelmingly more talented. But I do want to point out though, I think, I think and I think you talked the other day when we were on the game, you were talking about Khalil Mack has had a real quietly good year. Quietly, because I haven't really heard much about him. Man, it's been a down year for pass
He
rushers and
got some All Pro votes.
yeah, so it's been a down year for pass rushers in general, down year for sacks. Um, I think what Trey Henderson led the league in sacks. So I mean, not that
Yeah.
he's not good, but it's just like, I think it's down year. I think it's a down year for sacks. I don't think anybody crack like normally somebody cracks like 16 sacks each year, but it was a down year. But Khalil Mack, you say he had a good year this year. You still got Joey Bosa. So I think if they're able to dominate the Texans in the trenches, I think the Texans don't really have a chance at all.
That's how we see the Texans lose most of their games. I mean, we
Just
saw
getting
against
pushed around in
Baltimore.
the trenches, yeah.
Yeah, we saw against Baltimore on Christmas. They literally just got dominated on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and that's how they lost.
Yeah. And I think we could see the same thing happen today, but it does seem like the whole world is on the Chargers. It seems like the whole world seems like not many people are giving the Texans a chance. But they deserve a little bit more credit. I'll say that. Let's move on. Saturday Night Football. These two teams just played not that long ago. Steelers at the Ravens. AFC North showdown in the playoffs. I'm gonna actually start with you on this one. For my spread, people, Ravens are favored by 9.5. So take that what you will.
And again, I think
Steelers have lost four straight games, kind of backpedaling into the playoffs, but nevertheless they're in the playoffs, and everything resets in the playoffs. It's a whole new season. So. Talk to me about this game. Zay Flowers out for the Ravens. What you think's going to happen in this game?
think it's a little ridiculous that the Steelers are 10 basically 10-point dogs on the road here. I'm picking the Ravens in this one to win outright, but when we talk about the Steelers and their game plan last time they played Baltimore, excuse me. They came in with the to stack the box and stop the run because that's what they did in their first match against Baltimore, and it worked. It worked to a great deal. They forced the Ravens into some uncharacteristic turnovers, and they won the game that way. However, in the second one, Zay Flowers was eating man coverage alive. I think he had 5 grabs for 100 yards. He's not there no more. So now who's our consistent separator on the outside? We're relying on Rashad Bateman. We're relying on Nelson Aguilar on the outside.
Yep. Five catches, 100 yards.
We're relying on Rashad Bateman and Nelson Aguilar on the outside. So then it's like, okay, do we look inside with Andrews and Likely? And I think that's what you're gonna have to do. I know the Steelers struggle against two tight end sets, so I think that's where the Ravens kind of make their money at here. Because at the end of the day, I'm not scared of Rashad Bateman. I'm not scared of Nelson Aguilar, even though Rashad Bateman's had a phenomenal season. I'm not scared of him winning this game for me, especially if I have
Yeah,
Joey Porter Jr. on him.
yeah, I
So
agree.
I think if you're the Steelers, you come in and load the box defensively and try to stop the run as best as you can. But then when you flip the ball on the other side, I don't know how this offense is going to move. I mean, the Ravens, over the last since week 10, they've been the best pass defense in football, and that's against like some really good competition there. So it's like I don't know how the offense moves. I mean, I know they didn't have George Pickens the first game and they won that, but they had George Pickens the second game and they lost that, and they scored. Believe they scored less points in the second game than they did in the first game. So, like I said, I don't know how the Steelers move the ball on offense. That's what I'm scared of. But I do think it's going to be a very low scoring game. I think
I
the
was
Ravens
just
end up
I was
pulling it
just getting
out.
ready to ask you. I was just getting ready to ask you. Do I smell an under game here?
I think it could be an under game. I think the Ravens do pull it out though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, dude, do I smell an under game? The under is sitting at according to ESPN,
43 and a
I
half.
see 43 and a half. Do I see under game? Because when we talk about the Steelers loading the box, they've been able to stop the run all year. They were sixth in terms of opponents rushing yards per game. I just pulled it up. I also know the Ravens have been excellent stopping the run as well. First in the league at opponents rushing yards per game. But the Steelers sit at six, only allowing 98.7 rushing yards per game. Um, so I think that's interesting. I think that's pretty interesting. I definitely think it could be like a real low scoring game. And of course, I have to point out the struggles of Lamar Jackson in the postseason. I think six. I feel like it's six.
This could be one of those scary games where their offensive coordinator, whether it's Greg Roman and now Todd Monken, like we saw last year, just kind of goes away from the run when it doesn't work early. So I would be
I think this game is going to be a slugfest. I don't underestimate Mike Tomlin.
the
Um,
Black Magic.
Black Magic. I don't. This game is going to be it. I'm not going to say the Steelers are definitely covering, but if I had to say they're covering, or if I had to pick an underdog that is covering, probably them.
9.5
Um,
is a well,
they're
10
just they're
basically is
super
a lot of
familiar. They're
points.
familiar, and the Zay Flowers injury that concerns me. He was a Pro Bowler this year. You know what I'm saying? Not like Rashad Bateman. Remember I said the other. I think I said
Undeserving pro. I shouldn't say that. Not undeserving, but I
yesterday.
think the other guys should have made it over.
I think I said
But
yesterday. Oh, they should have kicked the tires and re-signed Odell. I'm not saying he would have been like a super major threat, but we see guys get released and picked up like Ezekiel Elliott signed with the Chargers. Um, like those dudes is in like the same tier as Wash, low
that's it.
key.
Their guy was supposed to be Deontay
Yeah,
Johnson, but now he's on the Texans.
yeah, exactly. So interesting stuff. But I do think they should have signed Odell just because he was in that exact offense last year. Could have provided something, but I'm picking the Ravens to win this game, but I think it's gonna be really close. Let's move on to the Sunday slate, man. We got a triple header. We got the Broncos at the Bills. Bills favored by 8.5 points. Think what you think about this game?
A lot of people when they talk about this game, even my own favorite team edge rusher Michael Parsons has picked the Broncos to win this game and said they beat the Bills last year. Not only did the Broncos get better, and that's what a lot of people point to, the Bills have gotten significantly better from that point last year. Their offensive philosophy has changed as well. And I just can't see the Broncos coming into Buffalo, changing time zones, 1 o'clock game, and going out and winning this game. Um, Buffalo, their defense, I'm gonna be honest, their defense is really bad against the run. And we know what Sean Payton wants to do. He wants to come and run the football, get ahead of the sticks so Bo Nix can pass like second and shorts and third and shorts. I just cannot see Buffalo coming in. I mean, Denver coming into Buffalo and flat out doing that. Even last year when the Broncos beat Buffalo, it took James Cook fumbling, somebody who doesn't have a fumbling problem. Josh Allen threw some uncharacteristic, inaccurate passes, and then I believe it was some drops as well from like Khalil Shakir, and we know he doesn't drop passes. So like it was a very uncharacteristic game last year. And I think Buffalo comes in on their P's and Q's. I feel like Buffalo's trying to be on a mission this year. I don't know if they're going to be able to complete the mission, but I think they're going to come in trying to be on a mission, take care of an inferior opponent at home.
Um, I gotta kind of pivot towards what I just discussed in the last matchup. I know we talked about the Bills' run defense, but they actually shored it up as of late. I just looked at the numbers. They're 12th in opponents' rushing yards per game. Broncos been pretty stout against the run. Third in opponents' rushing yards per game. So I'm thinking maybe a low scoring under type of affair. Maybe like maybe a 23-13 win for the Bills, something like that. Um.
But what scares me though about the Broncos, as of recent, like they played they played the Chargers and Bengals.
Mhm.
That pass defense, even when they played the Browns on Monday night, their pass defense looked very, very shaky.
Yeah, it did
Looked
look
very,
suspect.
very shaky.
Specifically because of the corners outside of Passer Tan.
And the
Um,
Bills have a lot of playmakers.
yeah, Bills do have some playmakers. Like Khalil Shakir had a great year. You put me on to him. Still had Amari Cooper. I know it's Amari Cooper in the code, but it's still Amari
Still
Cooper.
got Dalton Kincaid.
Still got, he got Don Kincaid out there. Keon Coleman, I'm not that fond of him, but you still got him. That's somebody to worry about as well.
Curtis Samuel still
Curtis,
getting
they got
burned.
Curtis Samuel too. You got a speedster out there.
Matt
They still
Collins.
have guys. They still got guys. So I I think this game is going to be. I still think it's going to be a low scoring game unless they really exploit something outside of Sertan. But I mean, I'm sure that's in the game plan. I got to pick the Bills to win though. Um, I don't think I would be shocked if the Broncos were to pull it off. Did my thing mess up? Wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos pulled it off, but I
You
guess
good.
we'll see. Guess we'll see. Let's move on to Packers Eagles. This is a good one.
This is. We get a rematch from week one.
Rematch from week one in Brazil. Packers at the Eagles. Jalen Hurts is clear concussion protocol, so he will be out there. Thumbs up. Um, got Jalen Hurts back out there. Um, Packers, without Christian Watson, lose a guy that's a threat to stretch the field. Um, I'm gonna tell you
I feel
one.
like that's a bigger loss than people are anticipating, though.
Yeah, I think so too. Because it's like people look at Christian Watson, they look at the production, but they don't look at the threat that he is down the field. Just the
It's not even
ability,
a
just the
production thing.
ability to be able to stretch the field, gives teams something to worry about. So I think that's a bigger loss than people
And
are actually.
I would even point to we see the Chiefs this season. Their offense look completely different with Hollywood Brown in there for 2 games. And it's just like, why do you think that is? Hollywood Brown didn't even get that many snaps in those 2 games, but his threat of taking the top off opens things underneath for the other guys. So in this case for the Packers, it opens it underneath for a Jaden Reed who's been very inconsistent this season. It opens it underneath for a Romeo Dobbs or Dontavian Wicks or even who's the tight end, Luke Musgrave and Tucker Craft.
Tucker
It
Craft.
opens everything up. I would say it opens everything up underneath and funnels everything down. But now the Eagles, who have been one of the very best defenses in football, get a weakened Packers team. We already know what the Eagles gonna come in and want to do. They're gonna come in and want to stop the run, which is what Matt LaFleur wants to establish. So it's you're kind of playing into their hand without Christian Watson. I mean, earlier in the season they played without Christian Watson, only lost by 5. This is a different Eagles team. Look, that Eagles team at the beginning of the year, that was your first game of Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Now you're dealing with what, game 18 of these guys? I don't know. I don't like the Packers' chances in this one.
Yeah, I did want to point out because I know you just mentioned a weakened team rather, and it's not even just Christian Watson, but Jordan Love got banged up in that Bears game last week. He did come back in the game, but he got banged up. You know what I'm saying? So this Eagles team, they're well rested. Jalen Hurts has been out a few weeks now. His body is rested. He had a concussion. His body is just fine. Saquon Barkley, could have broke the record, could have broke Eric Dickerson's record. He's well
I
rested.
think he's gonna have a day.
Things gonna have a day.
I think Saquon's gonna have a day.
I could see it because I mean I know that the Packers are seventh in opponents rushing yards per game. I get that. And the Eagles are 10th. But at some point, somebody's will is gonna have to break. You know what I'm saying? And I think with the Eagles receiving core, they're gonna be able to have a balanced attack.
I say
Um,
we didn't even mention Jair's out too.
exactly. I was gonna get there. So Jair Alexander out. I hate to sound like an idiot, but I don't know who their other corners are. I know they got
Shout out
Xavier
Carrington
McKinney and
Ballantyne,
safety. Oh, Ballantyne.
Eric Stokes.
Oh yeah, Eric Stokes. Shout out Eric Stokes. But that I just think that the Eagles are going to be able to have that more balanced attack, and that's why I think they'll prevail. Just because they're going to be able to pass and they're going to be able to run, and you still got to worry about Jalen
This
Hurts.
team lost to the Bears last week.
Yeah, they legit lost to the
This
Bears.
lost to the Bears last week.
And for what it's worth, the Packers they don't they don't see this dual rushing threat really in the division. Where you got a quarterback that can run. I know Jalen Hurts is probably going to play a little cleaner, not try to get hit as much. But they don't really see a dual threat quarterback in their division. You know, you got Jared Goff, Sam Darnold. I know Caleb Williams can scramble, but nobody would say he's on the level of Jalen Hurts as far as rushing the football. So they have that attack as well. Um, I think it's scary for the Packers. I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm not gonna. I would have been more bullish had they had Christian. If they had Christian Watson and Jair Alexander, I'll be on here saying the Packers are upsetting the Eagles. I
This
feel
is
that.
also the Eagles are the only non NFC North team that the Packers also lost to. They had 5 losses in division.
Good
But I
point.
just think it's a tough draw for the Packers.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Um,
Winning 11 games and being the 7th seed is just insane in general.
it is. It sucks. It sucks. It's a bad draw. You know what I'm saying? For a couple of teams, like Commanders as well. Who we're gonna talk about now? Last game of Sunday slate. We have the Commanders at the Buccaneers, a rematch from Week 1. I'm gonna let you go first. I'm gonna let you go first because we all know I'm the fan here.
This is the toughest game to pick all weekend. In my opinion, it's the toughest game to pick all weekend because you come in here, you know 1,000 points will be scored in this game. Regardless of who wins the game, 1,000 points will be scored. It might come down to who has the ball last, to be honest. And when I see this game, I look immediately at the line of scrimmages. I think Tampa can control the line of scrimmage on offense. I don't know how much on defense though. Like their pass rush hasn't been all the way there. I know Todd Bowles likes to blitz a lot, but Jaden Daniels doesn't seem like a guy you can blitz and get all out of your rush lanes for. We just saw he had what 130 rushing yards plus against Atlanta the other week when they were trying to blitz him. Like I just don't know if Todd Bowles' defensive philosophies will work in this game, right?
I love that I got the
So
stats in front of me. This is fun. But go ahead.
I don't know if Todd Bowles' defensive philosophies will work in this game. And I trust Terry McLaurin to beat these corners. I know he had a bad week last week until the final drive against Dallas, but that was a lot of Deron Bland. Shout out my guy Deron Bland. But I don't trust Zion McCollum the same way I trust Deron Bland. I don't trust Jamel Dean the same way I trust Deron Bland. So I do think that Terry McLaurin does get going in this game. Like I said, the Buccaneers can't control the offensive line of scrimmage. So that means I think it's going to be a big, and I mean a huge Bucky Irving day. We already know how Dan Quinn defense is. Like I said, I think it could be a huge Bucky Irving day. We get Mike Evans versus Marshawn Lattimore again. Bottom line, I'm excited for this game, as you could tell by the way I'm speaking about it. But I think I'm gonna rock with the Commanders in this one. I feel like I have to pick an upset somewhere, and I feel like
Stand
this is
up.
just like this in the spot where I'm just like either team can win. I'm gonna give the coin flip to the Commanders.
This game is extremely tough for me. I've been going back and forth. Um, but I can discuss. I can really break this down. So week one, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They played the Commanders. Final score 37-20. But let's really break this down. Baker Mayfield had a really good game. I'm not going to take nothing away from him. But the Commanders were able to move the football. And mind you, this is week one, Jaden Daniels. We got week 19, Jaden Daniels now. So obviously, rookie quarterback, first game, new offensive system. You got Todd Bowles, one of the great defensive minds, loves to blitz. But I think Jaden Daniels was pretty poised in this game. Now, obviously, he didn't throw a touchdown, but he was 17 out of 24 passing. Was able to rush the football really well. I remember him picking up a lot of things on the ground. I remember that vividly. Also, they had some missed field goals in this game. I don't know if you remember vividly, but they were moving the football and drives were being stalled by missed field goals. I think who was the kicker? Who was the kicker week one? I gotta go look. Where is it at? Cade York was the kicker week
Hey
one.
York.
Cade York and he missed some like not I won't say easy field goals, but some field goals that if you're an NFL kicker, you have to make those. You have to have those
It was K
because
York.
yeah. So when that happens though, your defense is tired. Your defense is like, offense didn't do this, offense did that. So it's like, and you just have some opportunities where you're able to put points on the board and it just doesn't happen. Like they had a missed field goal when the score was 6-0 Buccaneers. They missed a field goal. They had a missed field goal um at the end of the second quarter. Well, let me see. They had a missed field goal when the score was 16-7, beginning of the third quarter. I'm sorry. So there were opportunities when field goals were missed where you could have made the game one possession game or made the game closer. Um, so I think those things will revert to the mean, and they will make field goals. Also in this game, because Terry McLaurin he wasn't getting involved earlier in the season. In this game, Terry McLaurin had 2 catches for 17 yards. I expect him to remain a featured player in their offense. Shout out Terry McLaurin for being second team All Pro. Um, got in the end zone 13 times this year. Um, Good for him. I think he has to get involved early. I know a lot of people are gonna be looking at Cliff Kingsbury, see how he calls this game. A lot of people been on Bink, been on his head. Bink being one of them. Um, but I do like the Commanders here. I think they have a chance to win this game. Has to be an upset. I think they're a live dog here. Obviously, in the playoffs, they're a live dog, but I think we're going to see a different Commanders team than we saw week one. Obviously, we're here and it's week 19. So say what you will. Similar spread too, so it's interesting. Buccaneers covered the 3.5. Will the Commanders come out here, cover the three, or win outright? Should be interesting. Um, but it's gonna be an instant game. As I look through the numbers, I look through the stats. Tampa Bay fourth against the run this year. I know their pass rush hasn't been the greatest, but fourth against the run, so they have been able to control line of scrimmage in that way, but they don't play a quarterback like Jaden Daniels in division. I'm sorry, they just don't. Um, but
And
we'll
last
see
thing I
what
want to say,
happens. I think their defense. I do think their secondary is suspect though. For God's sake, Kirk Cousins threw for 500 yards on these guys. So what are we doing here? What are we doing? I gotta go.
last thing I want to say, there's only been one team to hold this team under 24 points since week 12 has been the Dallas Cowboys. All right, we can move on.
What is that? What does that mean in this context? What does that
I don't know
mean?
what it means. I don't know what it means. I just
No
wanted to
one
say it.
knows what it means. But I'm going Commanders, man. I got to. Well, I'm going Commanders and Wizards parlay tomorrow. Wizards play the Thunder.
No, that's
Oh,
that's nasty.
I'm cap. I'm
That's
cap. I'm
nasty
cap.
work. Bro just
Let's
burning money at this point.
let's move on to Monday Night Football. We're in Arizona. I do want to send my thoughts and prayers out to people in Los Angeles with the wildfires going on. I have a good friend, my best friend Darius, who lives in California as well. Um, these wildfires are going rapid and scary, which is why this game has been moved. Lakers game has been postponed, etc. So I'm just sending all my thoughts and prayers out to everybody out there. And I hope this gets put to an end real soon. Um, but we have football to be played on Monday night. This game is moved to Arizona. I think it's a cool neutral site for both teams, honestly. Um, but we got the Vikings at the Rams. No, no, no. Mike's guys are coaching against each other. I'm stressed. Kevin O'Connell, Sean McVay. Oh, I'm stressed. I wanted the Vikings to win last week to avoid this. I really did. I didn't want this to happen. Now I got to
I
pick
also
here
wanted the
two of my
Vikings to win
guys.
last week to avoid this.
Bink, I'm not gonna lie to you. Call me a homer, because you know the Rams like my third team. But I'm picking the Rams. I'm picking the Rams. Picking the Rams because they got guys that have been here before. They got guys that have been here before. Your Matthew Stafford, your Cooper Cup. And I think Cooper Cup is gonna be back. I like the Rams here. I really do. I just feel it. But I don't know who's stopping Justin Jefferson, dear God. I'm gonna say that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But I do think the Vikings offense will bounce back. Again, from their loss last week. But Sam Darnold, if you miss those throws that you were missing in that game, brother, it's gonna be a long night. It's gonna be a long night because Sean McVay loves to run the football. Loves to run the football. We look at Minnesota. They have an excellent defensive unit. They're second against the run, but I think if Sam Darnold isn't able to complete passes, it's gonna be a long day for the Vikings. But I'm going with the Rams in this one, man. Nothing super analytical or no crazy statistics from me, but I like the Rams. Just got a feeling. Talk to me. I think you're leaning the other way. So talk to me.
So yeah, like I said, a lot of people have been talking about Minnesota's offense as of recent. The Rams, and I want to say outside of the Buffalo game because Buffalo, that game was a shootout, right? They
Yes.
haven't scored over 21 points since they played the Patriots in week 11. That's November 17th. So I think a lot of people talking about Minnesota's offense. The Rams offense is struggling more than Minnesota's offense has been struggling. And now they have to play against Brian Flores. Like that just is a little scary to me if I wanted to pick the Rams. I mean, like we said, Cooper Cup has kind of been a shell of his former self recently. I mean, we know we're going to get a lot of Puka Nakua. The Rams are going to want to run the football. I know the Vikings' run defense isn't the greatest; it's not the worst either. But
Just
I'm
gave it
taking
up.
Minnesota just
Gave it
because I
out. Vikings.
trust.
Vikings is second against
I mean,
the
I trust both coaching staffs.
Vikings second against the run this year.
Like I said, I trust both coaching staffs. I kind of trust, like I said, I really do truly still believe that the Vikings might be the best coach team in football. When we look at the game last week, they were moving the ball down the field. They just couldn't convert in the red zone.
That's
And
true.
it's like, I mean, Kevin O'Connell can call the plays. He just has to deal on his players to execute. And this team won 14 games for a reason. I don't think they're a one and done playoff team. Now, will they go into Detroit next week or wherever they go next week, Philly next week, and win that game? That's another story for a different day. However, they're playing in Arizona against the Rams. I'm not. This is not. Like I said, this is not Philly. This is not Detroit. I mean, who else did they lose to this year? They lost to Detroit twice, and they lost to the Rams. They did lose to this team. They did lose to this team earlier, but that was in LA. Um, and that was a controversial game. I know we had the face mask in the end zone that turned into a safety that derailed the final drive.
Oh yeah, that
So
was the Thursday
I
night
think
game.
Minnesota does kind
That
of get
was
their
Puka
lick back in
Nakua's
this
first
one.
game back.
That was a Thursday night game. Yeah, and Justin Jefferson went off in that one.
I said I don't know who's stopping Jennings. I said that.
And
And
that was
see,
before Addison really got into the offense, and that
I
was
was gonna
without
say, and
T.J.
see,
Hawkinson.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
say,
taking
since
Minnesota in
then
this one.
Jordan Addison has come along. So interesting. I really don't know. I said call me a homer because I'm picking the Rams, but I don't really know. I hate that it came down to this. I don't want to pick my. These are my two. I think these are my two favorite coaches in the league. Sean McVay is definitely my favorite coach. I do like Kevin O'Connell. I wouldn't say he's my. I don't know. I love these coaches.
It's just scary what Ben Johnson's offense do to Brian Flores' defense. They said his defense only gave up 30.7 times. Four of those have been the four games he's played against Ben Johnson. I said, okay, yeah, he got it. Johnson just has his number.
I was gonna say sometimes when somebody has your number, they just got your number. But um, do you want to talk about coach these coaches getting fired? You want to talk about this before we get up out?
Yeah, yeah,
All right, so
yeah.
several coaches have been relieved of their duties. We have Antonio Pierce, Gerard Mayo, Doug Peterson. Um,
I think those were the only three who got fired.
and we
Because
know
the
in season Robert Sala
Saints, Jets, and Bears, yeah, they had it.
and Dennis Allen and Matt Eberflus got fired. So, um, first question is: do you think any of those coaches will get hired in this carousel?
No. I think Robert Saleh will be hired as a defensive coordinator. Matt Eberflus also might get hired as a defensive coordinator, but I don't see any of these coaches being head coaches, at least for a minute.
I think if there is one out of these guys that could be, I think Doug Peterson, maybe. But I do agree with your take. I do think
I
Robert
think he might
Sala.
take
Go ahead.
think he might take like the McCarthy route of like being out of the game for a year and just learning and then coming back into coaching. I don't think he'll just come back immediately.
True, true stuff. If you were to, if you, I guess we can. If you were to pick a coach for the Raiders, who would you put for the Raiders? Because it looks like the Patriots want Mike Vrabel
Or Ben Johnson.
or Ben Johnson. Do you
Because
okay? Another question. Another question. Do you think Ben Johnson will get a job in this carousel?
yes, I think he will be the Patriots coach, mainly because Aaron Glenn took his own name out of the Patriots coaching search.
He
And
did.
I
He
feel like
did.
I feel like that's a really big piece of the puzzle. I was like, why would you do that if you don't think Ben Johnson already has a job or something similar to that nature? So I
And,
do think Ben Johnson,
and they also said for Aaron Glenn that basically him and the Saints is a done deal.
yeah, which I don't know how true that is, but he used to coach there, so maybe it is a true thing. Like a Raheem Morris situation last year.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think anybody else who could.
I want to say something about the Raiders though. I think it's kind of interesting what they did just because they didn't fire everybody in one swoop. They fired
Exactly.
they fired Antonio Pierce. I couldn't think of his name. I was going to call him Aaron Glenn. They fired Antonio Pierce and then like 2 days later came back and fired Tom Telesco after. Even though I'm not the biggest Tom Telesco fan, I mean he was with the Chargers for what 10 years. So he just
Mhm.
comes to your organization in 1 year, drafts Jackson Powers Johnson, who was a pro. I know he had some all pro votes, and drafts Brock Bowers, who's the best rookie title we've ever seen. So I'm just like, he drafted another starter as well. So it's just kind of like, why did they fire him so quickly? Especially at GM. You don't give the like coaches. I can understand somewhat if you give them one
That's
year. If they're
fishy.
just
That's fishy.
incompetent, they're just incompetent. However, you just firing the GM one in one swoop is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's us. That's I'm not gonna lie. Um, I do want to talk about one more person before we get out of here. Do you think Cliff Kingsbury will get the Bears job?
Um,
Obviously we're going to talk about this more as things progress. But do you think Cliff Kingsbury will get a Bears job? Get the Bears job?
I
He
think
does have
there's
an
a
interview. They did request to interview him.
I think there's a chance because I think the Bears are gonna like kind of have to hire an offensive head coach. But the name I'm really pegging to the Bears as of right now, and this is crazy because he's still under contract technically until Tuesday, is Mike McCarthy. If the Cowboys aren't able to get something done with Mike McCarthy, I could definitely see the Bears swooping in and getting him. It seems like the Bears, they at least they wanted to interview him, and the Cowboys just kind of said no. But it's like if they don't get nothing done by Tuesday, which we know how slow Jerry Jones and his the family moves in the front office, it's something I could see. I could very realistically see. I think the Bears would prioritize McCarthy over Kingsbury,
So, with that being said, I only ask you that because I don't think Cliff Kingsbury is rushing to be a head coach unless it's necessarily a perfect fit. I saw something the other day. He's still getting paid. Next year, he's still going to be getting paid his Cardinals contract. That's the last year that the Cardinals owe him money. And I think he likes being the offensive coordinator in Washington.
especially with the talent of Jaden Daniels you have there. And
And
I
the
just think,
potential of what could be next year.
yeah,
So just wanted to ask you that. Just early head coaching thoughts. Because we're very early in the carousel. We probably won't be talking about this on Tuesday unless somebody gets hired. But
nobody's
yeah,
getting hired
I
that
just
quick.
wanted to ask. But I think we're done here, man. I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank everybody for continued love and support. I'm about to drop this episode within the next hour. This episode should be out by noon. If I'm lying, I'm crying and I'm flying. But this will be out by noon. I'm your host, got Mike Curry, signing out. Bink is signing out. We'll be back real soon. Peace.
Peace.